Hey guys, today we are talking about graphing in 4 quadrants on the coordinate plane. This is Chapter 2, Lesson 6. So street maps, use a coordinate system. The coordinate system used in 1-4 that we learned can be extended to include points below to the left of the origin. So here, take a look. Remember what the origin is. It's where the x and the y axis intersect, and that origin ordered pair is 0, 0. Now we can see that this is our x-axis, and notice the arrows indicate that each of those, that the axis actually extends both right and to the left of that origin. Also notice that the numbers to the left of the 0, here's the 0, all of the numbers to the left are negative. All of the numbers to the right on the x-axis are positive. Here we've got the y-axis that extends vertically, and we understand that those arrows mean that it extends above and below that origin. Also notice here we talked about before that the numbers below the below 0 on that y-axis are negative integers, and all of them above are positive. It says recall that a point graphed on the coordinate system has an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. Remember that the dot at the ordered pair, -2, -3, which is right here where t is the graph of the point t. So remember, your first number is your x-coordinate, and your second number is your y-coordinate. All right, so if we're taking a look here, we need to write the ordered pair that names each point. So the first thing that we're going to do is start, find j, which is right down here. Remember, start at the origin, okay? The x-coordinate is -4. I come over 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, and I can see that I have a -4. So I'm going to start by writing -4 in parentheses because I know that it has to be x, y to make my ordered pair. Then I have, I come here from -4 and I go below 1, 2, 3 to -3. I trail it over to the y-axis there. I know the y-coordinate is -3. And my ordered pair then would be -4, -3 for that point j. Taking a look and finding L right now, L is right here. Let's start at the origin and move over 1, 2 spaces to the right on the x-axis, which gives me a +2. Then I come here and I go down 1, 2, and when I carry that over to the y-axis, I can see that I'm at a -2. So my y-coordinate is -2, and that ordered pair gives me then 2, -2. Okay, let's take a look. It says the x-axis and the y-axis separate the coordinate plane into 4 regions called quadrants. The quadrants are named 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Roman numerals, and it says the axis and points on the axis are not located in any of the quadrants. So what that means is, right now I can see that I've got quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Right now what the ordered pairs here mean is that the x-coordinate is going to be a positive number, the y-coordinate is going to be a positive number as well. Over in quadrant 2, the x-coordinate is going to be, is going to be negative, the y-coordinate is going to be positive. Down here in quadrant 3, the x-coordinate is going to be negative and the y-coordinate is going to be negative. And in quadrant 4, the x-coordinate is positive and the y-coordinate is negative. Okay, so let's take a look. It says graph and label each point on the coordinate plane, then name the quadrant in which each point lies. Well, here they've already kind of graphed everything for us and they've labeled our points. So if we just take a look here, we know that the first thing is to start at the origin. So if I'm trailing, obviously I can see where they've created A. I start at the origin. I know that I need to move 2 units to the left because my x-coordinate is a -2. So here they came over 1, 2. The next thing I need to do is move 4 units down because my y-coordinate is a -4. So I start here and say 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I go ahead and make a point A, and I label it point A. Sometimes they'll ask you to put the ordered pair listed here in parentheses next to it, and sometimes it doesn't. We can see now, naming the quadrant, that it falls in. This is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Take a look now at B. Clearly you can see where B is right up here, but again, start at the origin whenever you are trying to graph, label different kinds of ordered pairs or points. So when we start at the origin, the next thing we need to do is, since the x-coordinate is actually 0, the point will lie right on that y-axis there. So if I moved anything to the right, my x-coordinate would be positive, and if I moved anything to the left, it would be negative. So I'm going to stick right there at 0 on the x-axis. Next step I need to do is move 2 units up, because I have my x and my y coordinate I can see here is a positive 2. So I move up 1, 2, and I plot that point down there, and I can see that because that point is right on that y-axis, it neither falls in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2, so you know that point B is not in a quadrant. Okay, let's take a look. When we graph algebraic relationships, that's what we're talking about next, you can use a coordinate graph to show relationships between two different numbers. So the example they give us, it says the difference between John and Terry's, okay, the difference between John and Terry's golf score is 2. If x represents John's score, so here's John's score, x, and y represents Terry's score, make a function table of possible values for x and y, and then graph the ordered pairs and describe their graph. Well, here they talked about the difference between them, so I know they have to be, or I know that the operation I'm using is subtraction. It says that the difference between their golf scores is 2. Is, we know, stands for equals, and we know that that difference now between them has to be 2. So I've created a function rule for, or a rule for my table. So right now the first thing that we do is we're going to choose some different values for x and y that have a difference of 2. So if I use any of these values for x, all I do is I plug them into the function rule that I made right here. So if I just took a look at this first one up top here, if I plugged 2 in for x and I subtracted something for y, I know I'm going to get 2. Well, what minus a number gives us 2? And everyone in here hopefully knows that that's 0. So I would go ahead and plug in 0. Now when that's written as an ordered pair, just like we talked about with our tables, numbers directly across from each other are going to be your coordinate pair. So my coordinate pair x comma y would be 2 comma 0, and you would continue to just plug all of these x values right here in your, right there, in your function rule to come up with your output or your y value. Then all they did was they took these ordered pairs and they graphed them on this coordinate plane. So let's start with this again with this coordinate, this ordered pair. Start at the origin. I know my x coordinate is a positive 2, so I move 1, 2 units to the left. And I know that I'm not going to be above the x-axis to make a positive y or below the x-axis to make a negative y. So I stay right there and I plot that point. They continue to show you how to graph the rest of them. And it says the points are along a diagonal line that crosses the x-axis at x equals 2. So here is where they have shown you the relationship now between two of those different numbers. You can come to class with any questions you may have.